He's illegitimate.
Okay.
He is not legitimate.
All right. So then I have to ask this question. I've heard that the party that was in power before, I guess 2018, right? The last 27 years, favored Tigrayans, favored the TPLS, and was to non-ethnic Tigrayans. I know. I see. Phone calls are coming in. We lit a fire, but no. Let me just ask your opinion. Do you believe that the prior, I guess, administration or the prior government that was in power was oppressive to non-Tigrayans? And let me
I'll
go.
let Maz.
Can I
No,
say that?
Let's go.
I'll let Maz answer. I just want to make one statement.
Let's go
No,
with Simon first. Go ahead, Simon.
okay, I'll answer this question. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. But before I answer the question, I want to correct your statement. There
Go ahead.
was no party change. The party is still EPRDF. Only name change happened. Keep that in mind. Abiy Ahmed was part of EPRDF, was elected by EPRDF, is still leading EPRDF. He just changed the name of the party. No personality change was made. No constitutional change was made. No policy change was made. Nothing has changed within the EPRDF. Just name change. Keep that in mind.
Name of the party right now.
Prosperity Party.
Okay, I've heard of that, but I haven't done my research. Okay.
So here's
party.
Yeah, it's Prosperity Party. He changed it from a front into a party, which if you don't change the policies, if you don't change the personnel, if you don't change the ideology, is still the same party. As there's a saying, it goes, if it looks like a dove, acts like a duck, then it is a dog, right? So it acts like EPRDF, walks like EPRDF, has the EPRDF ideology, no personal change, is the EPRDF.
I wanna clarify just for my sake. So the party that was in power for 27 years was the EPRDF?
Yes.
Of which the TPLF only had
25%. And Abiy Ahmed's party had another 25%.
Which was it the Oromian party?
The OPDO.
OPDO.
And who was the other two parties, or who else?
Okay, so the other one was the Amhara People's Democratic Front, which was the AP. Yeah, so another one is the Southern Nation and Nationalities Party. So these four parties had 25% stake within the party. Okay, so whatever happened within EPRDF, as much as TPLF is accountable, so is Abiy Ahmed. Keep that in mind. But when you talk about favoring Tigrayans by the EPRDF, let me give you a fact. There were 9 universities that were built in the Amhara region. Over 12 universities built in the Oromo region. Only 2 universities were built into.
So now, because of the accent, you said there was 90 what?
There were 9 universities that were built. I'm just giving you a fact. Yeah, so I'm just giving you the infrastructure that was built within the country. 9 universities were built in the Amhara region. Over 12 universities were built in the Oromia region, and some in the Southern Nation national people. Only 2 were built in Tigray. In Tigray, there's only 2 airports. There's over 5 or 6 airports in the Amhara region. So when you would see the numbers.
Hold on, Simon. I know this is an old map. I recognize it. I'm going to show it just because some of my viewers may not understand the regions and what's being talked about. All right. So you were saying that hold up, just so people know, that's Tigray.
Yes.
In the north, and right above Tigray is Eritrea.
Yes, and that's a whole other part. That's a whole other story to talk about.
I know, and I have someone that wants to come on and discuss that. This is the other party you said was Oromia.
Yes,
Oromia, and the last one is Amhara.
Amhara. So it was TPLF, Amhara, Oromia, and then was it Afar?
No, the Southern Nation.
The South.
Yes, Southern Nations Nationalities. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Understood. So the question that I had was, some people say that the TPLF, or should I say the original party, was oppressive to people other than ethnic Tigrayans. Let me
How
go.
does that apply though?
Can I intercept that? Can I intercept that?
Yeah, because I would like to know.
Okay, here is the thing. I said.
Let me start the question. The reason I'm asking is because I'm hearing from many people that was the case. Now let me say this. Let me just make an equivalency, okay? I'm a Democrat, right? I'm not a Republican, right? I'm a Democrat. I'm from Chicago, right? lived in Atlanta. I live in California now. The thing with me is, if I'm a Democrat and the Democrats are in power, they're going to favor the Democratic Party. They're going to put policies in place that affect me and are going to work out for me as a Democrat. If with the Republicans are in power, then I can't get anything done from a Democrat standpoint.
But Dave,
right?
Dave, I want you to answer this within the explanation that you're making. But how can you say, where do you live? California, right?
Yep.
How can you accuse the mayor of Maryland for the injustice that is being served in California?
Oh no!
How the hell?
No.
Because this is not what's no. But let me get to my point, because I want you to explain this with me. How the hell can you accuse the mayor of Maryland for the injustice that is happening in Los Angeles, while the mayor of Maryland does not have any jurisdiction? When I say Maryland, the governor of Maryland doesn't have any jurisdiction within California.
No, I agree. But if, at least in the United States, right, if the party in power is Democratic, meaning in the president, right,
Okay.
in Congress and in the Senate, if all three groups have a Democratic agenda, or should I say let's say a Republican agenda, right, they can put out federal mandates that can mess me up, even in California, although they're not my governor. The national government, if the party is being controlled. So here's the point that I want to make, and y'all can answer, Simon and everyone else. The EPRDF had the 4 different, I guess, influences. Could the TPLF have influenced all of the EPRDF to create policies or conditions that were worse for non-Tigrayans?
But here's
Can I say something about that?
The question. The
I
answer
just
comes to
want to say something very important.
Give me 1 second. I'll let you speak. I promise it's going to take me 2 minutes, and I'll let you speak.
I just want to briefly. Let's
let Jeb go, because I'm coming back to you, Simon.
Okay. Go ahead.
Because Simon said TPLF represents only 25% of the organization, of the EPRDF organization, right? And 25% is the Oromo, and 25% is the Amhara, and 25% is the... How can the 25% go to the other region and suppress or become a favor or not favor? The only thing, the 25% will go to Tigray. You go to his region. Maybe TPLF favors maybe in Tigray. People, if there are something supporting TPLF, they can give them like a Democratic Party. They can hire you. They can give you some jobs if you've been doing some things for them. They can give you something if you are campaigning the election. You can do. TPLF do in the region in Tigray. They can go to Tigray. Somebody was supporting them, campaigning the political because in Tigray we have other political organization too to compete with TPLF within Tigray. I'm talking within TPLF in Tigray. So people, they just doing campaign in Tigray. They can get, some kind of opportunity. But how come the 25% go to other regions and can give, some kind of a privilege to others, and some can, do not give something like that? It doesn't happen like that.
Miyaza, are you still there?
Here's Dave. Dave, here's one thing. I'm going to, because there's a very huge misunderstanding of how the Ethiopian governance system works. Because the way you said it, can TPLF oppress other regions? And the answer to that is it's impossible. And here's why. Because you were trying to explain it based on how the Democrats can control the Senate and the Congress, and they can impact states, right? But here's the thing. The difference is TPLF is compatible to not the National Democratic Committee. Rather, it's compared to the Maryland Democratic Party.
It's regional. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And here's another thing, okay? So I've tried to explain this earlier. TPLF had only 25% stake within the party. The same way the Maryland Democratic Party has a certain stake within the National Democratic Party. The same way. But when you go to the electoral college and how it's set up, even though the party had all parties within all the states have equal say within the party, they do not have this. They don't have equal say when it comes to the electoral college. Some states would have higher votes and higher say when it comes to voting the president. Right. The same thing applies within the Ethiopian constitution. So even though TPLF has 25% stake within the EPRDF party, it doesn't have 25% stake as a government, as less stake. Because people, nations and nationalities with more people have more states. Example, the Oromo people have 32% stake within the House of Federation. And the Amhara has about 28, 29%. TPLF had, Tigrayans only had like 11%. And the Afars have more because it's based on the population, which states that the Tigrayans had less say when it comes to policy making, setting agendas, all that stuff, even though they had equal stake within the party, because party is an organization and it can be formed as you wish and as you want. But government is based on people's wants, needs, and wish. And that's based on the number of people that exist within the country. So when people come and say, accuse TPLF did this to me, TPLF did that to me, here's the question that you need to ask. How can you accuse the governor of Maryland for the injustice that is being committed in California? You simply can't. If the government of Maryland is oppressing and suppressing people in California, which would never happen, it's impossible. But let's say if it happens, the first question that you need to ask is, go to your leader and ask him, how the hell are you allowing someone that doesn't have the jurisdiction to come to my state and impose and implement policies? That's your failure as a leader, especially when you say, I have PhD, degrees, and masters, and all that stuff. It does not make sense. It is easy to accuse. It is easy to complain. It is easy to hate. The hardest thing to do is educate yourself and try to resolve the problem. Because the problem, without you knowing what the problem is impossible to solve.
I understand. No problem. I want to go to Miaza for a second. So can you answer the question that I asked a little bit earlier? Why do some people say that, you know, the TPLF oppressed people or the prior government focused and favored ethnic Tigrayans over others? Why would people say that? And do you agree? And then we can move on to the next question after that.
Okay. I don't agree, and it would be nice.
Why would they? You know, like I'm hearing this from more sources. So, like, what? You know?
Yeah, I'm gonna explain that. But first of all, it's important to understand that Tigray is a minority in Ethiopia, and even so more here in the diaspora. So you're gonna meet a lot of people that are not from Tigray than Tigrayans, like, you know, statistically. So you will hear a lot of government propaganda more than openings from the Tigrayan side. So having that in mind, the primary reason why people don't like TPLF, why they blame TPLF of all evil things or of everything that went wrong in Ethiopia is because TPLF fought for people's right self-determination. TPLF, alongside other political parties, made it possible in Ethiopia for everybody to be equal in front of the law.
Hold on one second. Someone asked, what are my sources? Someone should ask him what his sources are. My sources are everyone that jumps in my DMs and wanted me to do the first show and this show and are asking me about subsequent shows and all the comments and questions. Y'all don't understand. I was inundated from both sides. So, and like I said, you know, outside of popular opinion, I decided to have both sides have their own platform and speak. And today I didn't bring anyone on from an opposing view because I didn't want to have a debate. I want you to have your day to explain, you know, your views. And that's why I called it the Tigrayan perspective. So I'm trying not to make it about the comments because I know people in the comments are going to make their comments, but I'm allowing the comments to go because I want people to have an open dialogue. But, you know, my questions are coming from people that ask me questions. So,
Dave, I just literally 30 seconds. No, I'm not going to talk about the question. I just want to say something. Earlier, I mentioned.
I'm letting you go, Simon. Go ahead.
No. I promise you. I promise you.
I would have took Simon off by now. I'm joking.
Here's the thing. This is the problem. Okay, what happens each and every time is when we Tigrayans come out and try to advocate for a humanitarian crisis, they change it into a political problem. We have zero problem when it comes to politics. We're willing to talk about it and discuss. Our problem and our pain right now is we need humanitarian aid and humanitarian assistance ASAP. You see how the topic has diverted. When you talk about Tigray crisis is not political crisis. It is a humanitarian crisis. And for a second, we haven't even talked about the people. Just to mention. Go ahead.
Right. I'm going to let Miaza finish. So I have questions about about humanitarian issues, and I have other questions. So honestly, you guys, we just got into hour number 2. So I do want to get into the other questions, but I want to let Miaza finish. Why would some people say that the government oppressed non-Tigrayans under the last 27 years, or favored Tigrayans?
So you'll hear all sorts of negative things about TPLF, primarily because, as I told you, TPLF made it possible for everyone, regardless of your ethnic background, regardless of the size of your ethnicity, you will be treated equally in the eyes of the law. And at the same time, what TPLF destroyed in Ethiopia, alongside other political parties, is this mentality of one ethnic group being or becoming superior over others. By forming multinational federalism in Ethiopia, nation and nationalists have the right self-autonomy. In previous regimes, Tigrayans were not allowed to speak their mother tongue. Our parents, our grandparents, and their parents were shot on the head, mainly because of their ethnic identity. So the TPLF started this armed struggle against this kind of mentality. So for the past 40 plus years, Ethiopia has had a political system whereby people could speak their mother tongue. They could go to school using their, mother tongue. We were not forced to speak Amharic. I studied in Tigrinya as someone who came from Tigray. People in Oromo have had the constitutional and human rights study in Oromifa. People in Benshangul have had their rights to use their mother tongue and also to practice their identity and culture. This is why you hear all sorts of bad things being labeled on TPLF. And the other thing is, since Abiy came to power, what he did is he successfully dehumanized the people of Tigray using state media propaganda. Whenever anything wrong happens in the country, he wouldn't even pretend to investigate. He will point his fingers against TPLF and blame TPLF for every wrongdoings of the political party that Abiy himself was a member of. So having said that, I think what Simon said is very important. We're having this discussion at the backdrop of a state-sponsored genocide happening in Tigray. For the past year and plus, the people of Tigray have been going through a brutal violence of their human rights. Young girls, as young as 4 years old, are being gang raped, not only by Ethiopian members of the National Army, but also by Eritrean. Vigilante from the Amhara region are deep in Western Tigray, in Wolkait and Humora, raping women. They're kids. They're going. Can you guys
get a feedback?
to go?
Hey, Gab,
Mike?
hold on, Gab. I'm going to bring someone on. I have another guest that wants to come on.
Yeah.
Yes, I can get it out, and you can just let him in.
Okay, continue to watch. I may bring you back after he's done. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Gab.
Okay.
Finish what you were saying, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tigrayans across the Ethiopian states are under siege right now. For the past year and plus, Tigray haven't had access to humanitarian aid. All the healthcare facilities in Tigray have been destroyed and looted by Ethiopian National Army as well as by the Eritrean National Army. And Tigrayans in Addis Ababa, in the capital city of Ethiopia today, are being hunted from their houses, from their workplaces, from school churches, and are being taken to concentration camps. My family member have been taken away, and I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're alive or dead. I don't know if my only surviving aunt, who used to live in Tigray, is alive today or dead. I don't know if she was killed by the Eritrean invading forces. I don't know if she was raped by the Amharas and Ethiopian National Army. I don't know if she survived the starvation. So this is what's happening in Tigray. So people would come here, talk about, 27 years, 30 years, what have you, so that you don't ask legitimate questions about the ongoing genocide that's happening in Tigray today.
When would you say the genocide started?
The genocide started on November 4th.
So I
Mm-hmm.
have questions. So let's back up a little bit, and I'm gonna get to the UN joint investigation. I do have questions on that, but for my sake and for my audience, I want to back up just a little bit. First of all, let me say this, you guys, and to everyone listening, I'm sorry for your loss. If you lost someone, I feel for you. War is never good. I don't support people being murdered. I don't support people being raped. I don't support people being killed. And I refuse to justify any atrocities on either side. If it's bad, it's wrong, it's wrong. And I'm saying that as Dave, an American citizen and a black man. I don't support the killing of innocent people. I don't even like wars, right? But I don't support the killing of innocent people. All right. So I want to make that clear. So I'm not doing this for propaganda. I'm not doing this for followers. I'm doing this to try to understand. I'm doing this to try to get awareness. And the first session was, you know, the mainstream media isn't telling the whole story. I said, okay. So I let my first guest tell the story. And then I had people that were supporters of Tigrayans, even maybe TPLF. And they said, Dave, you got to hear our side. I mean, Simon, you were one of them. He said, hey, you got to hear the other side. And I said, you know what? That's fair. So that's what we're doing. You know, I feel bad for anyone who's lost a family member. So that's all I'm going to say, right? I'm not supporting genocide, and I'm not supporting anyone that is supporting genocide or any of that. So that's why I put up in the beginning, y'all. And this is not just for you guys. You guys on the stage have been really respectful. This is more so for the comments. In the beginning, if you missed it, I put no bullying, no hate speech, and respect people's opinions, even if you disagree. That's what I asked. I realize that this is civil war. I realize it's Ethiopian upon Ethiopian. I realize it is black on black, you know, and it's difficult to have these conversations. So we're getting into, you know, tough waters, talking about, you know, people being raped and murdered and killed. So please have respect in the comments. Please have respect, as you guys already have. Simon, Miaza, and Gab, you guys have been great for just telling your piece without being disrespectful. And I want to say thank you. So that's important. I want to say that. All right. So let's go to I wanted to talk about the November 4th, 2020. Did the TPLF attack the Ethiopian National Defense Northern Command in Tigray? Like, I asked the question because I want to know how you understand it. So was there an attack on the Ethiopian National Defense in Tigray, and was it done by the TPLF? And let's go with Miaza, because she seems like she got the answer ready. So,
no, before I answer that question, I want to address what you said earlier. You said people wanted to come to your platform and talk about how the mainstream media is not covering what's happening.
I'm bringing on Captain Eritrea. He wanted to join, so I'm going to bring him on.
Okay, this is actually one of the ridiculous talking points the Abiy Ahmed supporter are using in to block any kind of meaningful intervention from the West. They use, actually what they do is quite baffling, and at the same time insult to the intellect of the African community, at the same time to those who support Pan-Africanism. What they do is try and find issues that are dear to the African American and Pan-Africanist, including the issue of, you know, sovereignty, issue of media, how, you know, there is censorship when it comes, especially when it comes to African Americans. There isn't really they're fair. It's the media doesn't really cover our stories here in the US, right? So they know the weak point, they know the soft side, and they're very manipulative in their approach. So they started this whole of they are not being fair to the government, while it is the Ethiopian government itself that have blocked access for international media and journalists from intern Ethiopia.
I want to welcome to the stage goes by Captain Eritrea.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, brother Dave?
I'm good. I'm Dave, and your name is, I think, is it DeWitt?
DeWitt, Dave. Same thing. Same Dave.
My man, I appreciate it. Hey, so, David DeWitt, turn your mic down just a little because I'm getting some feedback. Turn your
too loud.
Mute
I'm here. Us, and we're echoing, so her words are cutting out.
How's that?
I think it's better. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I wanted to welcome you to the stage. I'm definitely going to bring you in. Sorry I made you wait an hour, but we had to, you know, get information out there. I'm not, I know that you've been listening, but as I said before, you know, I'm against murders, rapes, genocide. I am against oppression. Now, I do believe in democracy. So from what I've been understanding, I've been supporting the Ethiopian government because I believe in democracy. I do believe, though, as a journalist and as a podcaster, in having a fair exchange and letting everybody say their piece. That's why today I wanted people who supported the grand perspective to come on. That's why I did it. And then some people said, hey, don't forget about Eritrea. So I wanted to make sure I had someone like yourself on. We're going to go for 2 hours. Right now, we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. If we want to go longer, we can. But I want to let Miaza answer the question, and then I'm going to come in with everyone else. The question was the attack.
Nor's comment.
Yeah, the attack. So do you agree that the TPLF attacked the Ethiopian National Defense, or like what's your understanding of that, of what started the war back in November?
Okay, so the war was started because Tigray was encircled. Tigray was encircled by military groups from different states, including Eritrean troops who were already deep in Tigray before November 4th, Amhara militias and vigilantes who were already approaching and invading parts of Tigray, and members of the Ethiopian National Army that were residing in Mekelle, in the capital city of Tigray, were already inciting violence, and they were trying to oust the Tigray government. The whole plan was, there was a political miscalculation from Abiy's side. What he thought was the TPLF wouldn't have any popular support of Tigray, so they thought they could just, take over the government. Maybe they could arrest a couple of, leaders in very short period of time, and everything will be done. That was the plan. But prior to November 4th, the European Union had already issued a statement warning about the looming war. And this was primarily because they had satellite, image showing that Tigray was already being encircled by military groups from Ethiopia and Eritrea. So on November 4th, what happened is there were members of the National Command that were trying to take armaments from the command and smuggle it to Eritrea. So there was already a clash. At that time, the Tigray Defense Forces...
Slow down a little bit. So I heard you say Eritrea, but slow down. So November 4th, this is before the 2020 election. So this is during that 2-year interim, but after COVID, right?
After the regional election, before the national election.
Correct. So at this point, Abiy Ahmed is still the interim prime minister, right?
Yeah. Well, the illegitimate prime minister. He's not recognized as a prime minister because there was no election. His tenure has already expired on August 2020.
Okay, so August. So, and then this is November.
Yes.
So why would he surround the TPLF, or why would he attack?
Why he would surround Tigray, not TPLF? Yeah.
Why would he attack Tigray versus, let's say, another region?
Because as we discussed for an hour, the main reason behind this war is not TPLF. The main reason behind this war, this genocide, is the Ethiopian government, or Abiy Ahmed and his supporters, desire to have a unitarist Ethiopia, an Ethiopia that doesn't recognize people's innate differences.
Right. I keep hearing Ethiopia, and I'm just slowing down for the accent for my followers. So you're saying that the idea is for Abiy Ahmed to have a unified Ethiopia that doesn't recognize ethnic divisions.
Not unified. There is a difference between unitary government and unity.
Unitarian, okay.
Unitarian government. Basically what it means is assimilation of people forcefully. So Abiy Ahmed wants to have a strong central government that doesn't recognize the autonomous right of regions. So he started the war against Oromos. He subjugated them. He successfully subjugated the people in Somalia and in different other parts of Ethiopia. The last remaining region that was a threat to his idea of assimilation forcefully was Tigray. So because he couldn't do it by blocking road, mind you, Tigray has been blocked. The road that connects Tigray to the mainland has been blocked for 2 years. He didn't do anything to solve that problem. Investors, foreign direct investors, there were Chinese investors, Bangladesh investors who wanted to invest in Tigray, were not allowed to go to Tigray and do that. So he tried to economically subjugate the people of Tigray for 2 years, but he failed. So the last option, the last resort for him to use was a military option, and he knew he wouldn't be able to successfully accomplish that alone. So he brought Eritrea in, he brought the Amhara national troops in. And because of this, they surrounded Tigray, and there was an attempt to overdo the democratically elected and constitutionally mandated government of Tigray forcefully. So the government had to defend itself, and then that's when the actual war started. And after that, there has been an active genocide being committed left and right across Tigray. Tigrayans were massacred everywhere. They were massacred in church. They were massacred in mosques. They were massacred in hospitals. They were massacred at the market, everywhere. And in addition to this, drones were used. Drones that were sponsored by United Arab Emirates were used. Chemical weapons were used. What happened in Syria literally happened in Tigray. Aleppo was turned to Maqala. You know how terrifying the scene was in Aleppo, right? The same thing happened in Tigray, in different cities of Tigray. But because the most effective thing Abiy Ahmed did when he started this genocide is to block all means of communication. So because there is no internet, because people don't have access to phones, the world cannot really see what's happening in full magnitude. So international journalists wanted to go to Tigray and report on the facts on the ground. But Abiy Ahmed wouldn't give them access because he wants to have an upper hand in controlling the narrative globally. So all the things we're telling you are actually, they don't really reflect the true reality of the problem. These are just, it's just parts and parts of the stories we hear from our family members. If you were to Tigray and see what happened, you would be heartbroken because everything has been destroyed.
Let me ask DeWitt. So your impression and your understanding of what Miasa just said, right? Eritrea got involved. And I'm asking these questions respectfully, right? Why would Eritrea, which is its own country, agree with Abiy Ahmed to go attack Tigray? Like why would they agree? And why would was it the Omoro or was it the Amhara people? Who else attacked?
That's for me, Brother Dave.
Yeah, that's for you, David. But
Yeah,
it was. But she said that it was Eritrea, and then
Amhara.
Amhara
Special Force.
Okay.
Ethiopian Defense Force.
Ethiopian Defense Force, Amhara Defense Force, and then
Eritrean Defense Force.
Yeah. So your understanding, David, and if so, why do you think Eritrea would get involved?
All right, so I'm gonna give a 1 minute quick background before I begin. If that's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, man, because you just got.
I appreciate you. So obviously, I'm a justice seeker, humanitarian. I'm Eritrean, and everything I do is for my Eritrean people. But I'm also a humanitarian justice seeker, right? But the issue we have in this whole conflict is people don't like to speak the truth. That's the main issue. So the history for Eritrean, for example, EPLF. Eritrean, I gotta dummy these down for my American brothers because it's too many dates and it's complicated. It's a lot.
Definitely.
I'm gonna do it Teletubby, right? EPLF is Eritrean People Liberation Front. TPLF, Tigrayan People Liberation. Y'all got that, right?
Yep.
But before that, there was ELF, Eritrean Liberation Front. That's my people, right? Okay. When TPLF and EPLF got together, removed us, we left Eritrea. Basically, Eritreans killing Eritreans, you know the deal. We left 1991 when we got our freedom from the Derg, Mengistu Haile Mariam. Just remember that, Brother Dave. TPLF and EPLF worked together, collaborated to remove, right? Allies, remember that. Boom. Done. Derg is removed. Freedom, 1993, incumbent Isaias Afwerki. Now, as a brother, you got to understand, you said you're a Democrat, right?
Yeah.
Isaias Afwerki has been in charge since we've been free from the Derg. Now, what type of democratic system is that, right, in Eritrea? Right? That's not democratic.
What's his name and what's his title again?
Isaias Afwerki. He's the president of, well, I can't say president because he's unelected.
Okay, so would you call him a dictator?
Absolutely, 100%. And I'll get to that. So he's been in charge for 30 years. All my brothers and sisters have died. Majority of Eritreans that feed you all the craziness, the first question you should ask them as an American or Pan-Africanist, why did you leave? That's the first question you ask an Eritrean, and then wait for their answer. oh, you know, business. No, 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 no. Why did you leave? Why did you leave Eritrea if it was so great, right? Boom. So moving forward, everything changes in 98 bottom of border war.
And could I say the same about anyone that left Ethiopia or Eritrea? Like, could I say the same about Tigrayans that came to the state? Could I say the
Yes.
same about
Yes, yes
Amharic?
and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
Here's why. If Ethiopia is a democratic country, right? Democracy, right? EPDRP or whatever they were saying earlier in, you know, Prosperity Party. If Ethiopians, Amharas, whoever wanted to leave Ethiopia and couldn't, they would have to utilize an Eritrean identity because the Eritrean people are oppressed. Therefore, they'd be able to come into America. But that's a whole different story, right? Okay. Now, but in 98, everything changed. If Eritrea collaborated with Tigray to remove the Derg, as collaborating meaning one team, right? They were unified. In 98, Isaias Afwerki changed all that during the bottom of war. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. The G15 within Eritrea requested for rule of law. He said, no, we're going to war. They're like, why? Badame Algiers Treaty. The Badame was a landmass between Eritrea and Tigray that connected them, right? Right there in the middle. Ethiopia occupied it. But then the UN or the investigating party said that Isaias Afwerki drew blood first. But most Eritreans are taught to hate Tigrayans by the government of Eritrea. Hence why they call them Agames, which is a derogatory term. It's supposed to be a derogatory term, but technically it's not. You know, people think it's a derogatory term. It's not. You're basically calling them a hard worker and so on. Anyhow, that's when everything changed. At that point, Isaias Afwerki went to Meles Zenawi, TPLF leadership, and said, hey, why don't you assist me? I'll take over the whole Horn of Africa. Meles Zenawi told him to kick rocks. That's what this is all about. He's kept that for this long. He's finally found someone like Abiy Ahmed to destroy TPLF, which is basically a scapegoat for ethnic cleansing of the Tigrayan people. If we're going to speak true, and this is coming from an Eritrean brother.
Back it up and say that again. I want to make sure I heard you because I was trying to ignore the comments. Who is, say it again, sir?
Isaias Afwerki, the dictator of Eritrea,
yeah,
wants to rule Ethiopia and Eritrea, right? But TPLF would not allow it, period. They would not allow it. They said, go take care of your own country.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to go into the whole historical and confuse everyone. I'm just breaking this down. When they told him to kick rocks, he took offense and he got mad. Now, he's been sitting there and waiting for a puppet that he could work with where he could finally rain fire against the Tigrayan people. That's what this is all about. But they utilized the wording TPLF, Tigrayan People Liberation Front. Oh, they fought us. Oh, they did this to our country and this and this. I'm not a TPLF supporter by any means. I can't be. I'm a Jebha child. I'm an ELF fighter's child, right? I'll never support TPLF. Never. But I'm still speak the truth. So long story short, and now we move forward to what's happening in current events, right? This was really popping off in the Horn of Africa. Once Isaias found Abiy Ahmed, they did the whole, hey, I'm with you. Let's unite. Let's end our beef. They did that weird ceremony publicly where he gave him a ring. It was some off the wall stuff, which kind of was just unifying Eritrea and Ethiopia. Now, when that happened, we moved to what the current situation now. Tigray, right? Tigray, the Tigrayan people. Abiy Ahmed was the transitional prime minister waiting for the proper election. He refused to hold an election. The TPLF or Tigrayan people or TDF, whatever you want to call it, said, hey, let's have an election. He utilized COVID as an excuse. So he made them wait. And then eventually, as they were waiting for the election, they started seeing military movement from Ethiopia, Addis area, or Prosperity Party soldiers being flown into Eritrea. Think about that. Never in history would Ethiopian military be allowed into Eritrea with no consequences. an entire brigades getting moved behind the scenes into Eritrea. So then the TPLF party did a preemptive strike. What is a preemptive strike, right? What is a preemptive strike? A preemptive strike is when one's country attacks first to defend itself. If I know you're going to attack me, I'm going to hit you first to make sure I stop you from attacking me. That's basically what it boils down to. So they hit the weapon cache. Abiy Ahmed used that.
So who did the preemptive attack?
The TPLF or Tigrayan government.
That's
Well, hold on.
Let him finish it. We can.
Yeah,
Go
you're
ahead.
right, Master. Hold on.
Well, okay. So I'm going up.
Let me say this. We're gonna let. I want DeWitt to finish, but like I said, we're gonna. And DeWitt, this is for you because you just came to the stage. Let's make sure we respect other people's opinions, even if they disagree. So I don't want to turn it into an argument. The whole thing tonight is so we can have, a perspective and a conversation.
Absolutely, brother.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree. He's my brother.
No problem.
Yeah. No. And I'm going off world data, right? I'm not going off. I'm trying to be as logical and as fair as I can by going off what the world is telling us, right? Obviously, we know the inside implications, so on. But the world says that the TPLF did a preemptive strike, right? Supposedly, they hit the military. I think it was the weapons cache.
Let me jump in right quick, DeWitt, because this is important. What I'm getting from you is that Eritrea wants to. Well, the dictator of Eritrea and his name is Turkey. He wants to make Tigray its enemy.
They've always been his enemy because they're the only thing stopping him from taking over the Horn.
I understand. And so you're saying that Abiy Ahmed, the PM of Ethiopia right now, is probably working with him?
Absolutely.
So you're saying that he's probably allowing him to try to take over both Eritrea and Ethiopia? You think
Now, I'm not sure in 2021, who's going to be the one taking it. But in my opinion,
it's the teamwork going on.
Right.
All
and the whole point of that is Asab port, the port of Eritrea, which is Asab, which is resources are like unexplainable, right? The whole world is after Asab, right? The Red Sea, the whole Horn of Africa. Ethiopian government wants access to that. That's what this is about. But the thing is, now I'm gonna ask you something, Brother Dave.
Mm-hmm.
So once they hit the weapon cache, right? TPLF supposedly fired weapons, which the world says they fired weapons into Eritrea towards its side.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Right. But ask yourself this: if you're bigger than me, and I'm a country fighting I'm fighting my own country. The entire country's fighting me. Why would I turn around and hit Jeff? Why would I turn around and hit you? When you know the person behind you is war-tested, a war-tested military ran under a dictatorship. That's not logical, brother. You understand my point?
Kind of. I don't want to get too off base, but you're basically saying, why would the TPLF fire on Eritrea? Is that what you're saying?
As they're fighting Abiy Ahmed's entire Ethiopian military.
They should be focusing. You were saying they should be focused on big Ethiopia in front of them, not little Eritrea behind them.
Right, because if I'm fighting Abiy Ahmed and I'm the TPLF, I'm not going to turn around and hit a more dangerous enemy that's war tested.
Okay, I could speculate, but I don't want to.
Right.
So because I don't want to do barbershop talk.
No. They did fire missiles.
I don't want to speculate. That's what I'm saying, right?
No, brother, this is fact. They did fire missiles.
No, I know, but you asked why, so I could answer.
Oh, got you.
I could.
You don't want to speculate.
Oh well, maybe I would do that because, but
Right. I'm just giving you. I'm giving you a thought process. Like, if I'm gonna fight them, I'm not gonna turn around and fight Russia at the same time.
I mean, unless they really did fly stuff behind you and you're attacking what they flew behind you. That could be one.
Well, right, and we'll get to that. So what ends up happening is they seen the Eritrean military march towards Tigray. TPLF seen it. They sent a warning shot to Isaias Afwerki. Hey, we see you. As they're fighting Abiy Ahmed. And the smartest thing they did was they went into the mountains to conduct guerrilla warfare. So that way they're hoping Abiy Ahmed doesn't attack their people. What's the first thing Abiy Ahmed does? attack their people, hoping to draw them.
I'm sorry. I wanted to get back to two things, and I want to come to Simon because Simon's been real quiet, and that's unlike you, sir. Simon,
I'm just listening. I'm trying to give people some space.
I'm tracking. All right, let's go back to this. I'm going to ask Simon this question. All right, so the TPLF did a preemptive strike, according to DeWitt, on the Ethiopian National Defense Command in Tigray. I've heard that innocent people of non-Tigrayan ethnicity were killed during that attack. I mean,
that is, I mean, again, as I said, accusation, can happen, and I'm not here to deny, nobody of nothing. But go ahead.
Do you agree? Do you agree that the TPLF preempted it, or were they, like in other words, were they because they were being around? I'm sorry. Wait, do me a favor. Go on mute. Can you see the mute button?
So when you talk about a preemptive strike, right? And most people are referring to the Nor's command attack.
Right.
You need to understand what the facts are prior to that. Okay. First thing to keep in mind is my friend David was mentioning about Tigrayan Defense Forces attack on Eritrea. But he has not mentioned on November 4th. So this is the same day that the Ethiopian government accuses the Tigrayan government of attacking the Nor's command. There's a footage that has been materially
Can you repeat that, brother? Because I got a phone call. I missed what he said. Thank you.
No, I was referring to on November 4th. There is a footage that is materially has been fact checked, that has been checked by geolocations and other ways to verify that the Ethiopian government transferred over 38 T-135 tanks and other heavy artilleries to the Eritrean government. This is on November 4th. Keep this in mind, okay? In addition to that, Abiy Ahmed sent 2 Antonovs on November 3rd that consisted the Republican Special Forces in the name of transferring cash to Mekelle while carrying 0 cash in the Antonov. First thing is you don't transfer cash on an Antonov. You use commercial planes. So a lot of people, when they talk about the attack on the North Command, they always forget about these facts. In addition to mobilizing the South Command and the Central Command. So all this was happening while the Southern and the Central Command was being mobilized towards Tigray.
I want to make sure.
In addition to,
you're saying that Abiy Ahmed sent money. Where did he send it?
No, he did not. So
no,
So when he sent 2 Antonovs full of special forces to Mekelle, and when he was asked about it, he said, "Oh, the reason I sent those 2 Antonovs full of special forces is transfer cash from Addis Ababa to Mekelle." That's an excuse. Everybody knows that.
Mekelle is a city in Tigray.
The capital city of Tigray.
Okay, understood. Okay.
So you don't send 2 Antonovs. Antonov is a huge plane. That's not, if you want to transfer cash, there's multiple commercial planes that you can use to transfer those cash. You don't send special forces.
You're saying
the Antonov is one.
You're saying he sent forces. He didn't send money. He sent.
No, he did not. No, he admits that Antonovs were sent. He admits special forces were sent. But he just says the reason I did that is because I was transferring cash to Mekelle.
I see. Okay.
That has never been done. And keep in mind, Tigray has its own autonomy, meaning federal troops cannot enter to Mekelle without the authorization and consent of the Tigrayan government, which they never had. So prior to the North Command attack, these things have happened. A lot of people